This show is proudly sponsored by TraderCobb.com, the leaders in checklist-based trading strategy. Yes, that's exactly how it sounds. I'll teach you a literal checklist so you can tick off items and be decisive very quickly. Get across to TraderCobb.com where there's a bunch of free content there for you to have a look at. And of course, if you're interested in having me come to your city, click and register for the live events coming up and filling fast. Have a great day. Visit TraderCobb.com now.
The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, talking business in blockchain.
G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Trader Cobb Crypto Show. Today I've got a returning guest that we have on once a month, Doc Severson of Ready Set Crypto Show, one of my favorite traders out there in the space, somebody who I respect very highly. And although we trade differently, we speak the same language, which seems to be a bit of a reoccurring theme with many of the trading guests that I have on board at the moment. So thank you so much for your time today, Doc. I appreciate it, mate.
Hey, it's great to be back here, Craig.
Yeah, look, I always love chats, mate. We, as I say, we trade slightly different styles, but we both read the market in a very similar way. And for the last time we spoke, we were looking at the weekly chart, or talking to the weekly chart about the break up where we saw the higher low and the higher high. We're sort of heading towards 6,000. Now we haven't spoken for a while because you went away for a trip over in the UK, and since then a lot has happened. So what's the plan of attack for you at the moment, and what are you seeing?
Plan of attack right now is when you get into range expansion like what we did from about 8,000 up to 14,000, a parabolic move like that goes almost nearly straight up with a slope typically has what we call a hairy back to it. And so this is where, I think one of the best things that we can do is get people not to chase after those. And, one of the things that I tell people all the time is, psychologists have measured this, that the pain of sitting on the sideline watching a market run away without you is actually much, much greater than if you'd actually taken a stop loss on just a normal trade. So the best thing that folks like you and I can do when it's going berserk to the upside is like, time out, settle down, it'll come back to you. This is not the last rally you'll ever see in your life. It will be, it's painful, but you missed it. And we got to work on you getting those high quality entries that don't necessarily feel good at lower prices. So right now we're going through a contraction phase. So range expansion, range contraction, we're digesting the gains. It'll probably come down a little lower than people expect it to and get all that FUD working again. And I love it when I see all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt out there, because I know that we're just about to trace another bottom.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Look, it's kind of what I've been covering quite. I do a podcast every morning, 5 days a week, of course, just to do a market update. It's between 5 and 10 minutes long. And that's what I was saying throughout the whole thing. I had, mate, the amount of people messaging me on Facebook and whatnot saying, look, when should we be getting in? When should we be getting in? They're like, I don't think I'll ever get 10,000 again. Well, they just got the opportunity if they wanted to. People are freaking out, watching the market go out, and it plays into the psychology that you just said. It's that when things are like that, emotions run high. And when emotions run high, trading decisions go bad. And often it ends in regret and despair when all you required was a bit of patience. Now, it's easy for us to say this because we've been doing this for 13 years. We probably have nearly 40 years of experience between the two of us, right? So from our point of view, it's we know what to do, but that doesn't stop the emotional side. It also makes it a lot easier when you're already long with margin, which I had a couple on there too. So I was very happy to sit out and do nothing. Yeah. People, where's it going to pull back to? I'm like, look, honestly, when it does get parabolic like that, my answer is, I don't know. When Bitcoin goes on one of these runs, there's no predicting that works, really. I mean, you talked to where you thought it might have got a bit choppy sideways or pulled back. From my level was about 12,600. It did move well beyond that level. I think yours was somewhere similar, right?
Mine was about 12,000. That's where I figured that we'd slow down, but it vastly exceeded that.
Exactly. And I also had a client, well, he's one of my apprentices actually. He was in a trade on the 2-hour candle that he took. And there was a couple of real doozies as well, following the rules that I use. And he was at 82 to 1 reward to risk, right?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, that's why I'm in this game. That's the only reason. Well, it's not the only reason, but as far as from a trading perspective, the reason I'm not trading foreign exchange is because you just don't get that sort of stuff, right? So he called me up because I was in Noosa doing some fishing with my old man, and he called me up and he said, what should I do? I'm like, well, what are your options? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like, because I know that. He ended up closing it out, and he got about 20% on one singular trade on his entire account portfolio.
Oh.
And the only reason he got that was because he did not try and add more. He did not do silly things. He trailed his stop to where it should have been, and he did very, very well. And it's that sort of measured approach to a market that gives you long-term success. But we have seen it come back a couple of $1,000 from the high. Where do you see us potentially pulling back to based on your analysis, Doc?
The beginning of where I thought that it would come down to is right at the 61.8% retracement, which is right around 9,900. We almost tagged that today.
Yeah.
We did a couple of little toes in the water, right under 10,000, and it bounced pretty significantly from that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more lower highs set up before this thing is fully out. So I'm looking to get in again. I'm looking to re-add to a position, maybe around 9,100 or so. Okay. And it's okay. It's okay if it goes below there, because I've seen people going all the way from 6,500 down to, I think, who is looking for 1,300 or something like that, right?
He's hurting right now.
Yeah, I think he is. But again, I think the thing that we talk about all the time is like, we don't have to be right about this. We don't have to be right. All we have to do is just to follow our plan. Yep. Because if you're waiting between 14,000 all the way down to 9,100, you've got a pretty significant pullback in there. You're getting a lot more edge in somebody that's chasing after this thing at 12 or 13,000.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, I'm with you on a couple of things. I think we could potentially see a deeper pullback. And look, that's not based on thinking, right? I want everyone to realize that, when it comes to trading, there's a sign right there that says trade what you see, not what you think. That's my rule. Don't think. When I think, I stuff things up. My job is not to think. It's to execute based on a plan. The thinking's done years and years and years ago, and I'm thinking about who I'm going to work with and thinking about how I'm going to become a trader on my own and thinking about what markets and what timeframes. That's when I think. Now it's just a matter of cut and paste. And for me, I mean, I look back in the past bull market that we had, which was a really significant one, which was the run of 2017. And as you know, I use the 10 and 20 period moving average for that pullback into that cradle zone, I call it. That's my equilibrium point, my fair value on price. And, throughout 2017, we saw 3 pullbacks of 39 to 40%. And we haven't seen that so far. And from the lows, I think we're about, from the low to the high, about 369%. And we haven't seen a decent pullback yet. I mean, currently we have pulled back, I think, about 26% given the lows of last night. No, nearly 28% on the lows of today from the highs of last week. And of course, if we pull back in a bit further, I mean, if I look at a 40% pullback here, that gets us to 8,200. Now, that gets me right in the middle of that cradle zone. Depending on how fast it occurs will depend on if I might change that. We do have a little bit of resistance from that daily chart, which was the old 2019 highs, around that 8,800 mark. So you're 9,100. We're in the same sort of vicinity. But I mean, one thing we've got to remember is that this is Bitcoin and it will do whatever it wants to do. And, we just need to be aware. And I think the biggest thing is, I started to see posts and in some little groups and that are saying, oh, the bears are back in control. It's like, do you even know what a chart is? Because
okay, so that's a great point. So let me throw this one out to you. Like, what would tell you that this is not just a bear market rally? Because I've gotten the same thing as well too, and I'd love to hear what you would say about that.
Oh, for me, I mean, there's no time frame at all that's bearish to me. The weekly's in an uptrend, the daily's in it. Well, the daily's a little bit sloppy at the moment, but it's still in an uptrend. I trade trends, man. So for me, until the trend changes, well, nothing changes. And for me, the trend, I mean, on the daily, on the weekly, I mean, the monthly is a little bit of a funny one because it's a bit, it's kind of just gone straight up in a line. I just don't see any evidence of any significant pressure on the downward side at the minute. Now, we're traders, mate. We can change our minds when time permits, but I just don't see anything there trend wise.
Okay. So I feel the same way as you then from a trend perspective. Until we start to see lower highs and lower lows on the weekly chart, right now we're higher highs and higher lows. We're still waiting to make a higher low on the monthly chart, like you said. But the other thing too is volume. Look at the volume. The volume's starting to come in like big green candles. And it's actually, if you follow the trace of this, it's actually gotten stronger as the market's gone higher, which is good. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
So, and we're tailing off in the volume right now during the correction, which is perfect.
Yep.
So I want to see light and tailing volume
Yep.
on corrections. So this is doing exactly, if I could like outline it on the chart and say, this is what I want over the next couple of weeks. I want this thing to take a nice long rest.
Yeah.
It's doing exactly what it should be doing.
Couldn't agree with you more there. And another thing regarding volume is, where exactly is that volume coming from? I find that to be a valuable resource as well. And if you look at the CME futures, they've been trading very, very well. Now that to me says that it's not your mum and dad that's playing in that space. That's your institutions coming in and your bigger traders. And that's really important, because the addition of derivatives, and we've spoken about this before, so I'm not going to go right down that rabbit hole, but the addition of derivatives allows institutions to be involved. We're seeing it across the press now. We're seeing more money, more futures volume increasing quite significantly. And we're just seeing more and more good things coming out. So the interest for me is where that volume is definitely coming from. And we are seeing the CME step up. And notice how no one's really talking about the ETF anymore, which is just lovely. It's just lovely, because derivative products are far more important than an ETF. An ETF, it'll happen one day. No rush.
Well, it's like, I got this lesson about 15 years ago, because everybody kind of goes through this when they try to figure out how an ETF was put together. It's like, well, wait a minute. If I have 500 stocks in the S&P 500, does the index move the individual stocks, or do the individual stocks move the ETF, or what? How does this all glue together? Which is first, the chicken or the egg?
Yep.
And somebody came back to me and said, no, it's the futures contract is the underlying for the entire index. And I think that we're going to see exactly the same thing. We've already started to see that with BitMEX now. BitMEX is now actually the de facto underlying instrument for Bitcoin.
And it's good,
so
because
it's already started to happen.
And look, I've been speaking with some exchanges too recently, and I'm very impressed by one of them in particular. I think it's called Liquid. They are linking stops with our orders, Doc. I mean, imagine that, being able to raise an order with a stop loss at the same bloody time, so that we can actually go to bed and still get the trade. I'm also seeing another big exchange, it's not an exchange, it's a traditional market broker, Global and CMC Markets, now coming out and reaching out and asking questions, which is fantastic, because they're now starting to inject more time, capital, and resources into the cryptocurrency market. As the demands come back, of course, more and more products will come in. And the very fact that CMC Markets, which is a traditional market player, is asking more about this and looking to relaunch, so to speak, it's a really positive thing, because I know who they've got within their groups. I've presented for them for years on end when I was doing foreign exchange and all the other markets I was trading. So that is a knock on the door of more people want access to this volatility. That's another positive sign. I just think we're seeing a bull rush of interest, of opportunity. And I really do believe that all the smarter money is waiting for this pullback. There's money on the sidelines that we can't see right now, and they're waiting to get their entry. And I'm really looking forward to that next entry, because that next entry, when it comes, I mean, there's no reason why that can't push us on to 15, 16 and above. You know, we could see big highs come.
Isn't it amazing how this has turned into just a one coin market again?
Yeah.
I would not have anticipated this. We're not getting the altcoin rush like we did 2 years ago.
No, but we also haven't seen that same level of euphoria yet. I mean, if you look at the Bitcoin search engine on Google, the Bitcoin search results on Google, if you look at it in 2017, it was, mega.
Yeah.
It's not ticked up too much here. So it's a different money coming in at the moment. They're just starting to tick up, and it will tick up again. It's a good indication for knowing when, the old, what do they say on Wall Street? When your shoe shiner or your taxi driver is telling you about the markets, it's time to exit. It's a very similar thing that I like to look at, amongst other things. It's one of the factors that helps me to go, okay, this puppy's now getting crazy. It's massively overextended. Everyone's trying to get into it. It's a good time for me to be getting out of it, and we haven't seen that just yet. So
no,
I think we
not
should
at all.
further up. So now, coming back to your comment, about the alts. As we see that as we see more people coming in, more fresh faces, shall we say, do you think that we will see the alts do what they did in 2017, or did it just do that because it was an immature market with immature money?
I believe this time around, we're already starting to see, I think, how this is going to play out, which is going to be a far reduced set. It's not going to be, because what I saw happen in 2017 was exactly what I saw with tech stocks happen in 98, 99. Like anything with a .com domain and an idea was getting all kinds of money thrown at it. And that is not going to happen the next time around.
No.
So we're still not there with STOs. STOs may take the place of ICOs, and they're going to be legitimate. They're going to be very good. Their day will come down the road. But I think the actual number of coins that actually ramps up this time, driven by Bitcoin, is going to be maybe below 20 that really get any kind of a pump to this. Plus, a lot of altcoins still, unless you can trade them versus Tether or something like that, are going to get destroyed because of Bitcoin being in the denominator. So you have to find a different way to trade them too.
Yeah, finally. I mean, I watched this in 2017, and I was just, foaming at the mouth, looking at. There was plenty of opportunities on Bitcoin and various other in the top 10, which we can get margin at. But seeing and again at the moment, doing my scans every day and looking at the top 150, going, oh, please, somebody give me a product to short these. They are it's just such easy money. I mean, even EOS Bitcoin, I was looking to short that. I actually raised an order to short that on BitMEX of all places. I didn't go to Bitfinex, which probably had more volume, and I'm pretty annoyed with myself on that one. But I raised my order, and then as I hit click and went raise it, I looked at it and went, my order is about 100 times bigger than anybody else's. And look, it wasn't I'm not saying that as, I'm Billy Big Balls here with big money. It was just that everybody else's orders were so small, was so thinly traded. I'm like, it's EOS Bitcoin. Now that went on to be about a 30-to-1 trade. And I'm just like, I look at it each day when I'm doing the scan going, oh, okay, mistake there, Craig. You should have gone across to Bitfinex and seen what volume was there. But it's just fascinating to see that the trading side of these pairs is it's a real niche at the moment. There's still so much room for development for people like us to maximize that by introducing people to a safe way of trading by managing risk. It's not that difficult.
Hey, so you're taking your act out on the road.
Yeah, pretty excited about that. So we're doing Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, Tasmania. So, and then off to New Zealand by the look of it as well. Next year, we want to go to the States and over to London at a minimum. So pretty pumped about that. So we just got a registration page, and we just get people to put in their city so that we know where we're going next. So it's kind of cool watching, Europe and the US fight it out to see where we go first. And look, the good thing about it too is that it's not just about, going out and having a show on the road, because that's really fun. I love doing that stuff because you get to meet people and they ask you questions. I get to sharpen up on some of the content stuff because, I've been trading this market now for nearly 2 years, 23 months now, or 22, whatever it is. And I've picked up a lot of additional things that I want to include into it. And now I've got the reason to include those things. And people get to meet people in their own city, so they get to have their own little communities. But I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm really excited about it.
We're coming to your backyard in about 2 months. Altcoin magazine is doing a mastermind workshop down in Bali.
Oh, cool.
So it's a 30-hour flight for me, but so we're going to be in your backyard down there, which is probably only 1,000 miles away from you. But
have you been to Bali before?
No, I haven't. I'm due.
It's cool. It's a lovely place. Just, don't go to the main center of Bali because it ain't so sweet. But there is some beautiful, the north of Bali. I like the north of Bali. Go to a chalet up there, but you'll like it. And make sure you stay for a while or pop over this way. But Altcoin magazine, they're doing some good stuff. But what's going on in your community? I mean, you've got a lot going on. You went away for a little while. Obviously, you took a holiday. Since you've come back, have you seen the interest having changed, shifted? Are we more positive over your side of the world as well?
Oh, it felt like throughout 2018 we were like, hey, this is going to get better, and it's almost like we were talking into a vacuum for a while there, and like trying to come up with reasons for. But we were, during the whole time, we were like getting people ready. And one of the things that I've noticed that it's made a huge difference is some of the basic things, some of the basic advice that we give to people. And you and I think, give very similar advice, like just simple things like don't enter a position until you define your stop first, like, which it seems obvious, but it's something that nobody does. Just simple things like that. People are starting to latch onto that, and they're doing much, much better with this bull now. And they're not chasing after markets like they used to be. So just taking the average retail investor that has no knowledge about how to deal with markets, and they're going to go through a learning process. And the first thing I see people do is like, oh, this market makes no sense. That's right. It is not based on logic. It is, markets are irrational because people are irrational. And so all the things that you've learned in your professional life, you can throw them away because none of them apply towards the actual market and the way that it moves. So I'm out there trying to teach people to unteach them all the bad habits that we learn about risk and reward and things like that, and try to understand, teach them to understand how markets move. And it's a challenge that it's never just gonna click in. It takes several of these cycles before people all of a sudden like, oh, now I see what you were saying.
Yeah.
So that's the eternal challenge here.
Well, it's not just in this market either. I mean, look, I've been working in lots of different markets, as have you, for a number of years. I'm pretty much solely focused on this one now in crypto. But I mean, it's always easier starting with a blank canvas. People say, oh, I've done some trading before, so I should pick it up pretty quickly. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. You might also need to relearn some stuff. I mean, a prime example is I had a woman start with this in October of last year. So basically trading through just bear market. Bear market until now. Now, about a month ago, she said to me, I've just done 100% of return on my portfolio. Now, she's dealing with some money. It's not like, a 20, so it's not like a small account, it's not a 20 grand account, something like that. She's dealing with some decent money. She's never had any trading experience before in her lifetime. To do 100% in that amount of time, it just shows that you, like, people that sit in the sidelines and go, I want to do this and this and this and this and this first. Don't. Find somebody that you can relate to. If somebody's strategy, you go, oh, I don't get that. That's fine. It doesn't mean that they're not doing well. It just means if you don't gel with it, then you're probably not going to get the hang of it quickly. Find somebody that works to what you understand, and then just double down on that. I think that's a really important message. I can tell from experience, because I wasted a lot of time and a lot of money trying to stick together everything until I realized that the market is a pantry with 700,000 ingredients, and you're very unlikely to just chuck a few things together and make a souffle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny also that I've seen through the passage of time, when I first started investing, there was no social media. The internet was still in its infancy back then, and people pretty much had to figure this out on their own.
Yeah.
Unless they could find a mentor. And then we went into this world of social media where you go onto Twitter and everybody's an expert. And the problem is that the amount of damage that creates to people, where they start to follow all these other people and they've got 10 different opinions and 20 different actions, and they're following 300 different coins. And so a lot of people have learned to like socialize their decisions. And I'm like, you're becoming part of the herd again. This is exactly what you don't want to do, is to fall into that thing. So you've got to refine your approach. And a lot of times, following somebody like yourself that can help you sort of navigate those waters and refine things. So you're very good at one thing. And that's all that it takes in this business. Just got to get good at one thing.
Put the blinkers on, get laser focus, and who gives a shit what anyone else is saying, because it's important that you don't get distracted.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. Doc, what are you coming up, mate? And where can we find out more about what you are doing now that you are back from, hopefully, the sunny UK?
You can always find us on YouTube. We're putting out anywhere from 2 to 3 videos a week.
Yep.
So my partner, Mav, puts out more stuff like about the future of cryptocurrency and where things are going. And I stick more to a trader focus, because all I care about is the price, man. And so just trying to help people from left and right fields of crypto. You can find us on YouTube at Ready Set Crypto. You can find us at readysetcrypto.com and stick your email in there, get on our list so you can find out what we're thinking on a daily basis.
Awesome. Well, Doc, it's a pleasure as always, mate. We do this show monthly. I look forward to the next one. Don't go away on holiday again because I like talking with you.
All right. Thanks again, Craig.
Thanks
You
so
guys
much
have
for
a
your
great
time.
night.
Appreciate it, guys. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thanks,
have a
everybody.
great day. Bye for now. This show is proudly sponsored by TraderCobb.com, the leaders in checklist-based trading strategy. Yes, that's exactly how it sounds. I'll teach you a literal checklist so you can tick off items and be decisive very quickly. Get across to TraderCobb.com where there's a bunch of free content there for you to have a look at. And of course, if you're interested in having me come to your city, click and register for the live events coming up and filling fast. Have a great day. Visit TraderCobb.com now.